Right? No, we are not supposed to keep it on speaker view. Now Neena Didi is on speaker. Okay.
Okay, this is 17th chapter of BhagwadGeeta, which is called the Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga. Shraddha Didi, you're going to get a lot of hiccups today. Bhagwan ends the previous chapter with the message that our actions should be prompted by scriptures and not our selfish desires. Arjuna, foreseeing this, that not many people will have access to scriptures, wanted to know about the state of those people who use faith to guide their actions instead of scriptures. Sri Krishna replies that faith comes from swabhava, from one's stockpile of past samskaras. In this chapter 17, he analyzes swabhava through studying what food we eat, what actions we perform, and with which attitude do we perform those actions. This chapter is called as Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of differentiating the threefold faith. The Lord shows how the concept of gunas that was detailed in the 14th chapter applies to faith, worship, food, sacrifices, rituals, austerities, and charity. The acronym for this chapter is FACES, where F stands for faith, which is a secret of success, from 1 to 7 verses. A stands for Ahar, verses 8, 9, 10, our food habits, and austerity or tap, which represents our duty towards ourselves, from verses 14 to 19. C stands for charity or dan, which represents our duty towards our fellow beings, from verses 20 to 22. And E is the enjoyer of everything, verses 23 to 28, Om Tat Sat. S, which stands for sacrifices or yajna, which represents our duty towards Ishwara, which is detailed in verse number 11, 12, and 13. Shraddha Didi, you can put up that screen share the slide. I begin with F, verses 1 to 7. Shraddha is translated as faith, but it has a deeper meaning. It combines devotion and intellectual focus, which is clearly maintained until the goal is achieved. It is mission accomplished with constant efforts towards a goal. It reminds one of the ant in the poem, कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती. नन्ही चींटी जब दाना लेकर चलती है, चढ़ती दीवारों पर 100 बार फिसलती है. मन का विश्वास रगों में साहस भरता है. चढ़कर गिरना, गिरकर चढ़ना न अखरता है. आखिर उसकी मेहनत बेकार नहीं होती. कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती. It is an aspect of one's nature, vasana, or one's intrinsic nature or swabhava, also referred to as gunas, which are of 3 kinds: sattva, which is pure, rajas, which is passionate, and tamas, which is ignorant. Sattvic Shraddha is the worship of the gods, higher ideals, divine manifestation. When you look at things around you like a visionary towards widening your horizons. Rajasic is the worship for attainment of material and self-centered goals, which is being selfish. Tamasic are oblivious of this and they live a very laid-back life of ignorance. They are unwilling to work hard and they worship ghosts and spirits in the vain hope of achieving success. A. The classification of food, sacrifice, austerity, and charity is being elaborated in 15 verses. Lord then describes ahar, which is food, yajna, that is sacrifice, tap, which is austerity, and dan, that is charity, into 3 gunas. Ahar, that is the food we ingest. Sattvic food is tasty, wholesome, nutritious, and gives vigor and strength and happiness. The verse 8 from the chapter, Ayus Sattva Balarogya Sukha Priti Vivardhana Rasya snigdha stira rudya ahara satvika priya. Every word in this shloka, rasya, which means juicy, snigdha, containing natural or added oils, sthira is substantial, that will last long in the body, and hridya is agreeable. It also means that you do not become spiritual by eating these foods, but these foods are conducive for your spiritual pursuit. Foods that are excessively bitter, sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning, and which produce pain, sorrow, and disease, are dear to those in whom the Rajas guna dominates. So the verse 9 reflects it as Katvamla lavana kyushna tikshna ruksha vidahinaha ahara rajasasyeshta dukkha shokamaya pradaha. Katu is bitter, amla is sour, lavana is salty, ushna is hot, tikshna is pungent, ruksha is excessively dry, and vidahina is excessively burning. A tamasik's natural choice of food is stale, half-cooked, lacking in essence, unclean and unfit for sacrifice, which is reflected in Shloka 10. Yatayamang gatarasam puti paryushitenchayat uchishtam chamedyam bhojanam tamasapriyam. Yajna or sacrifice represents our duty towards Ishvara, which is reflected in verses 11, 12, and 13. A sattvic sacrifice is made according to scriptures without desiring a reward. Rajasic is when sacrifices with an ulterior motive for personal gain, reputation, name, and fame, and sacrifice made against scriptures with no sharing of wealth and no higher ideal or charity is tamasic. From verses 14 to 19 is all about austerity or tap. Austerity is very simply defined as the condition of living without unnecessary things and without comfort, with limited means, or a practice, habit, or experience that is typical of this. It is actually saying goodbye to the culture of give me more. The verse 14 refers to the physical austerity. The worship of gods, adoring Brahmins, gurus, mother and father, the wise who are the learned people, well versed in the meanings of the Vedas and their subsidiary scriptures. The habit of acting consistently with simplicity and practicing ahimsa, that is, absence of injuring creatures. Verse 15 refers to the austerity of speech, which is engaging in speech that causes no pain, which is true, agreeable, and beneficial. Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyahitanchayat swadhyaya bhyasanainchaiva vangmayan tapa uchyate. There is no need of speaking unworthy words. Truth and hitakarak words instead of hurtful words leads to the tap of speech. I have a very small example here. When you tell a person point blank, that you're fat, the person feels very offended. But if you just put different words and say you're pleasantly plump, possibly the person feels better. So we can just try to improvise on that. The verse 16 refers to mental austerity and is reflected in the 5 S. First, satisfaction. Second, simple living. Third, silence. 4, seriousness. And 5th is self-control. Tranquility of the mind, gentleness, complete control of the mind, and full purity of the heart. There should be no hypocrisy. You think of the welfare of others, have empathy towards your fellow beings, and introspection by being maun most of the times. Austerity also represents our duty towards ourselves. Broken into 3 components of body, speech, and mind, it is reflected in verses 17, 18, and 19. This threefold austerity, performed steadfastly and with Shraddha, desiring no fruit, is sattvic. Rajasic is temporary and unstable, done selfishly with gaining respect, honor. Tamasic is misguided, self-torturing austerity, practiced with delusion to torture own body and mind and to hurt others. Verses 20 to 22 belong to the acronym C, which are on Dan or charity. It represents our duty towards our fellow beings. Sattvic Dan is to give promptly, respectfully, and graciously, that is, wholeheartedly. Rajasic Dan is not prompt. You have to be reminded about it. And expectantly, that is, you get something in return. And needlessly, that is, you give something that you don't use. Charity done by giving to an unworthy person at improper place and time and with disrespect is tamasic. The verses 23 to 28 elaborate Om Tat Sat, which indicates Brahman or God. Om, which is a subtlest symbol of God, the most powerful mantra used in meditation. It is chanted at the beginning of an act of charity, control, or worship. Tat is that, the supreme state of enlightenment. It is the absolute and it is chanted during the performances of right action. Sat means goodness, reality. It is chanted to indicate a praiseworthy action. The chapter ends with the 28th shloka. Ashraddhaya hutan dattan tapas taptang krutenchayat asadityuchyate partha nachatat pretya no iha. Where asat is the three practices of yajna, dan, and tap, which are performed without shraddha. Such work cannot bring an auspicious result either in this world or in the next. To conclude, through this chapter, we are urged to reduce and ultimately stop rajasic and tamasic actions and cultivate sattvic actions, mind purification. However, even our sattvic actions may still have some defects which can be removed by chanting Om Tat Sat. Every aspect of one's personality is the combination of the three gunas that you possess. Ultimately, it is faith or shraddha, the secret of our success. I would like to end this with Prem Bhaiya's words that he had used in the last Anand Utsav. जहां आंचल की श्रद्धा होगी या जहां श्रद्धा का आंचल होगा वहां हम फिर पहुंच जाएंगे. जय श्री कृष्ण.
श्रद्धा दीदी